Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel and today we are going to talk about my afterthoughts and the analysis of the results of Junior Eurovision 2021. Now, as you can probably tell from my reaction, I was really nervous um, when the votes were being announced, and you could tell that it was a really tight race tight race between Armenia and Poland, but without further ado, let's get into the results. Right, so here are the splits of Junior Eurovision 2021's scoreboard. Um, Now, if you look at the overall top three, it seems like exactly what you'd expect. Armenia, Poland, France. They were gonna be the top three. A lot of people predicted this. No one was surprised. And the jury vote honestly kind of made sense as well, though I was surprised actually that the jury also appreciated Armenia's song. Well, obviously, first and foremost, Armenia won, and I'm super happy about that. Um, but when you look beyond the top three, you'll find a lot of weird things. The most glaring thing is obviously Portugal getting the third highest televote ever in this year's contest, even surpassing France. Um, Now, a lot of people are like, well, not a lot of people, some people are like, maybe the audience just happened to really like Fado, right? Well, probably not. Um, let's be honest, I'm pretty sure most of this is due to tactical voting from Armenians, Polish, or maybe even the French. Um, So yeah, a lot of people were probably voting, Armenia, Poland, and then for a third country that they knew weren't gonna win, they were gonna choose between, either Portugal, Malta, and maybe Serbia or Bulgaria. So they voted for them, and so that's why some countries that most predicted would flop, didn't flop. Um, and that's how Portugal got its best ever televote. Um, it's because of tactical voting. Let's be honest. It's still funny though because Portugal only got 9 points in the jury, and this song was like before the contest. This was considered to be a mostly jury-friendly song, but instead, most of the points that Portugal actually got, like at all, what came from the televote. So that's really interesting, and well, Azerbaijan getting a high score in the jury was not surprising at all. I mean, it's a ballot, it's jury bait for lack of a better word. Um, but also Georgia, I think, is very interesting because Georgia ended top five overall, which I honestly did not expect, and I'm very happy about. Of course, it was my third place or something before the contest. So, I'm really happy about the result that Georgia got, obviously. But yeah, still a lot of weird things, like, I mean, the Netherlands getting absolutely robbed. I suspect that had the tactical voting not taken place, then perhaps Bulgaria would probably have been lower in the televote than the Netherlands, but unfortunately, that didn't come to be. And well, they were almost last. They were almost gonna be not last place. They were only 1 point behind Ireland, and I was also surprised about Ireland's result because I didn't rank it particularly high in my top 19, but I liked the song. It was very energetic, very fun, and Mayu had a good stage presence. I only found out later this was actually Ireland's worst result, and I'll get to that later when we get to the statistics. But yeah, and it's also interesting to note that Ukraine beat Russia here by exactly 1 point, which is really interesting. Um, yeah, so and North Macedonia flopped, which I'll be honest is not all that surprising. Um, I didn't think it was gonna do well anyway. But how did Italy flop? Like, it was a good song. It was very powerful. It had okay camera angles. I liked it, and I don't know how it actually flopped, as you could tell from my reaction that I uploaded a few days ago. And Russia also flopped a little. I think I heard a bunch of people say, "Oh, it's gonna win. Oh, it's gonna win." Um, and well, it clearly didn't win. It didn't even get as high a televote score as Serbia, for God's sake. So yeah, Russia kind of flopped, and you can tell that Kirkorov did not tamper with the televote this time. So yeah, take that as you will. But also, possibly the biggest flop was Spain. Like, oh my goodness, Spain placing below Serbia, below Malta. Yeah, I don't think anyone expected that, to be honest. Like, I knew Levi Diaz's vocals were a little off. He sounded a little breathless. But I didn't think it was that bad. The cameras were good. Like, the camera angles were good. The staging was good. I liked it, and I was really surprised that it did this poorly, and yeah. Also, Albania is another flop, I think. It was really, like, sophisticated staging, but of course I had my doubts because, it was really almost, I guess you could say, too sophisticated, because, I mean, there were cardboard boxes, tables, chairs, and then in the background there's all sorts of cartoon designs going around in the backdrop. So I guess that was a little complicated, and a little confusing even. And also, Anna's vocals weren't that good. Like, they were fine, but for this song was quite vocally demanding, to be honest, and I guess she just couldn't live up to it that well. But yeah, really weird set of results, to be honest. Like, outside of the top 3, it's a really, really weird set of results. And now to compare my original top 19s with the final top 19. Well, obviously Armenia won, which I'm again very happy about. I predicted Armenia, France, Poland, and it became Armenia, Poland, France, and hey, close enough. But again, Italy and Spain flopped. Ukraine and Russia, I actually guessed perfectly. Wow. I underestimated Azerbaijan. I was spot on with North Macedonia as well. I also underestimated Kazakhstan a little, I suppose. Germany also kind of flopped. And Malta, Serbia, and Bulgaria did not flop. Well, relatively. Probably because of tactical voting, and same goes for Portugal. So yeah, it's kind of different, but I also got some spots, spot on, so, you win some, you lose some. Right, on to some fun trivia. Now, first things first, before we get to the results, this is actually the first time ever that Kazakhstan has sent more than one singer, or I guess artist, if you want to call them that. And it's all due to a tie in the national final. I remember very vividly they both got 30.5% of the vote, and then they had to take like an ad break to decide what they would do with this tie, because they hadn't had one before, and well, it was decided both of them would go. Again, I still don't like the song. I still don't really like the concept of it. It was just a little boring for me, but yeah, hope that Kazakhstan can send more groups soon, because one singer can get a little boring sometimes. Yeah, so that's that about Kazakhstan, and now we move on to the results. First off, the Netherlands is now the only country to have been in every single edition of Junior Eurovision since 2003, I think. And Belarus was as well, but obviously Belarus got banned from the EBU or suspended or whatever it was. So obviously Belarus couldn't participate in this year's Junior Eurovision. But anyways, back to the Netherlands. Even though they are now the only country to have been in every single edition, they actually got their worst result ever this year, which obviously was last place. Next, Kazakhstan and Spain also got their worst results this year, as you may expect, and Spain has for the first time fallen out of the top four, last year and I think the year before, and also the first few years of Junior Eurovision. Spain was always in the top four, so this result came as a shock to many people, not just Spanish people. This was a huge flop. So yeah, this was Spain's first result outside of the top four by a huge margin, while Kazakhstan, it's also their worst result yet. Before this, their worst result was in 2018, their first participation, with 6th place with Ozina Sen by Danilia Tulashova, I think. Yeah, that was their worst result. And now they've got a new worst result, which is this Fairy World, or Etige Eleme, I think. I'm not sure how I pronounce that. 8th place this year, their new worst result. However, they still stay in the group that has never been outside of the top 10, along with France, Armenia, believe it or not, Denmark, as well as Australia. And speaking of worst results, Ireland also got its worst result this year, and their previous worst results, plural because it was 15th place, but it was achieved both in 2017 and 2018. And again, I was really surprised. This song probably did not deserve second to last place, but it's happened, so what can we do? And on the contrary, Portugal got its best ever televote and best ever overall result this year. It was 11th place, and the previous best result was 14th place in 2017. And I dare say this is due to tactical voting, and I trust that. Well, not I trust that. That sounds kind of mean, but I believe not that many people really follow stuff. But I could be wrong. Who knows? And speaking of best ever results, Azerbaijan also got its best ever result. 5th place, which is pretty impressive. Their previous best result was 7th place in 2013, which I didn't watch, so no comment. Unfortunately, even though they got their best result this year, they'll probably withdraw next year for pretty obvious reasons. And an interesting one is Germany, because by placement this is Germany's worst result, because they got 16th place, I don't remember. And last year they got 12th place, but by percentage this is actually better, because last year, even though they got 12th place, it was out of 12 countries, which was last place. And this year they got 16 out of 17, 16, I don't remember, out of 19. Anyway, they didn't get last place, is what I want to say. So yeah, technically this is not their worst result, but by placement it is. So yeah, statistics are fun. More trivia now. With the victory of Milena, we now have 7 consecutive female Junior Eurovision winners. And in fact, the last one that wasn't female was actually Vincenzo Cantiello in 2014 for Italy. And the female streak, if you want to call it that, started with Destiny. And I mentioned that because Destiny obviously won Junior Eurovision 2015, but then also went on to participate in Adult Eurovision for Malta in Rotterdam this year. So, Milena, hint hint. Next, I'm going to talk about the running order. And, I talked about the running order before. in my last PowerPoint video, but one thing that I neglected to mention because I thought it was kind of trivial was that for all the previous years since 2015, every other year you'd have the winner be the running order slot of the last one -2. Now, that sounds complicated, so let me try to put some numbers to it. In 2015, Malta won while being 15th in the running order. In 2017, Russia won while being 13th in the running order. In 2019, Poland won while being 11th in the running order. Have you noticed the pattern yet? You know, -2, -2. So logic dictates that this year the winner would be the running order slot of Poland in 2019, which was 11 -2, and that's exactly what happened. Armenia was 9th in the running order, and it won. And speaking of that, you know, I kind of ignored it because, you know, looking at all the past years, almost all of them were actually second half running order winners, and you know, this year was actually an exception. And in fact, I didn't write it down here, but Armenia winning in the 9th slot out of 19 means that it's actually only the third ever first half running order winner, and that's incredible, honestly. But going back to what I have written down here, Armenia has become the first country to win the contest in the first half since 2008, which was when Georgia won, being 6th in the running order out of 15 countries. And the first one was, in fact, the first edition of the contest, which was won by Croatia, being 2nd, believe it or not, in the running order. And the Netherlands actually won in 2009, but they were not first half, but rather smack dab in the middle. And speaking of in the middle, I also calculated how well the two halves this year have performed. I took the country that was smack dab in the middle out of the equation, which in this case was Kazakhstan, and I calculated that the first half had an average ranking of 9.67, while the second half had 11.44. So the first half was actually the better ranked half, which, let's face it, isn't surprising. I mean, we had Georgia, we had Armenia, we had Poland. So yeah, not really surprising, but just wanted to let you know that the first half was statistically the better half. And another very interesting thing was that the only two countries to reach 200 points overall were also the only two countries to reach 100 in the televote. As you know, the only two countries that got 200 overall this year were Poland and Armenia, with 218 points and 224 points respectively, and they were also the only two countries to get more than 100 points from the televote. Obviously Portugal got very close with, I think it was 92, but then Poland got 102, and then Armenia got, I think, 106 or something like that. But yeah, in any case, it's very interesting that the only two countries that got 100, like above 100 points in the televote, were also the only two countries to reach 200 overall. So that's just some, again, random trivia for you. And now we move on to the jury votes, and these were all my own observations by looking at the detailed results. If you find anything interesting, you know, definitely let me know in the comments. But basically, Russia and Kazakhstan exchanged 12 points. You know, who's surprised? I mean, this contest was always political. But interestingly, France and Georgia also exchanged 12 points. And speaking of France and Georgia, France and Armenia actually exchanged 10 points, as in, you know, they gave each other 10 points, and they both decided to give 12 to Georgia. You know, taste knows taste and all that. And interestingly, Poland gave Armenia 12 points, while Armenia only gave Poland 1. So, I guess you could say the people at TVP really didn't want to host another Junior Eurovision again, so just let Armenia have the dub. And interestingly, the two highest ranked countries overall, Armenia and Poland, actually only got 12 points each, and actually France, Georgia, and Russia all received 3. And then Russia still managed to flop. Good job. But the country that got the most 10 points was actually Azerbaijan with 5 10 points, while Armenia and Poland both got 3 each. Now, also, we have some more jury trivia, and this slide originally wasn't here when I was about to record, and then I saw this tweet from Twitter user EuroBruno, and it turns out that Germany was ranked last by 5 juries, Portugal by 4 juries, and Ireland by 3. And in terms of jury members, it was actually Portugal that was ranked last by the most jury members, by 30 members actually. And then after that we have Ireland at 10, Germany at 9, Serbia at 8, and Azerbaijan at 6. And on the flip side, Armenia ranked first by 15 jury members, France by 14, Georgia by 13, Poland by 11, and Azerbaijan by 7. And I mentioned Azerbaijan in both cases because it's very interesting that 6 jury members ranked Azerbaijan last place, while 7 ranked Azerbaijan first place. So just thought that would be interesting for you to know. And the final bit of trivia, all the countries in the Caucasus, other than Russia, but let's be honest, does anyone actually count Russia as a Caucasus country? Anyway, all Caucasus countries were in the top 5, and therefore, by default, they are the strongest geographical region this year. Not Western Europe, not Eastern Europe, but actually the Caucasus. And speaking of the Caucasus, Armenia's performance, or rather Milena's performance, the live one, has actually gotten over 1 million views on the first day of release, or more specifically 22 hours. It had already gotten over 1 million views, and the music video is also the most viewed one at 4.5 million views and counting. So yeah, really impressive from Armenia and from Milena. Good job. And next we have some interesting information about the number 19. Obviously the contest was held on the 19th of December, which was coincidentally or not, maybe, who knows, the 19th edition of the contest, and there were 19 countries competing. The winning song and artist, Kami Kami and Milena, were the 19th to be revealed, though obviously technically we got Kazakhstan later, but we knew who won before we knew that, for sure, that Milena was gonna represent Armenia. And we already knew the song Ertiki Eleme, so or Fairy, no, it was called World of Fairy Tales back then. Anyway, yeah, technically the winning song and artist were the 19th to be revealed, and Milena got first place in the competition, i.e. winning, while performing in the 9th position in the running order. So 1, 9, 19, very interesting. And next, I also want to talk about the biggest discrepancies between the televote and the jury vote. The highest discrepancies were between Portugal, with obviously 83 points difference between televote and jury vote. Azerbaijan at 67, not really a surprise. I mean, the song was always jury bait. And France, I guess you could say they kind of flopped in the televote. On the other end, the smallest discrepancies were Bulgaria and Ukraine, both just 1 point apart between the televote and the jury vote. Malta at 3, and North Macedonia at 4, and bonus, Armenia was 6. And obviously during the live show, there were a lot of iconic moments, like um, Barbara Pravi performing Voila again, which was really awesome. Martin Osterdahl going, "You're good to go." Anna Jabria furiously trying to celebrate the birthday of, I think, one of her dancers. Uh, Meanwhile, Carla tries to get the show moving, and also Sandra Gedalia from Georgia trying to, or rather struggling with the envelope for like a good 15 seconds. you know, Lots of iconic moments, and I loved watching it a lot. And of course, you can't mention iconic moments without mentioning the interactions between different singers. Here's just a few that I've got. Um, yes, there's a lot of Ellen Senko here. Don't ask, and obviously you have to mention the hug that Milena and Sona had after Milena won, and and in an interview, Milena said that she doesn't hold any hate towards her because they're both just girls. They're dealing with this age-old conflict better than most adults. So yeah, it's just really wonderful, and a lot of these other interactions between the other singers as well are also amazing, and this was just an amazing experience to follow through. And of course, who could forget the winning moment when Olivier announced that France had gotten 67 points? You could tell that Enzo was just like sulking, just almost angry at himself, I reckon. Like, while Milena, her dancers were like raving. A lot of people raised a comparison to Eurovision 2019 when it was announced that Sweden's televote score did not exceed that of the overall score from the Netherlands. And then, as you see here on the left, we have Duncan Lawrence raving while John Lundvik's just like, oh well. Yeah, just really iconic moments, and I loved watching the whole process. So now that Junior Eurovision 2021 is over, it's time to look to Junior Eurovision 2022. Now, this is special because this is actually going to be the 20th edition of the contest, even though it started in 2003, but whatever. This is actually going to be the 20th edition of the contest, and we've got some really exciting rumors, actually. Like I said before the contest, Iceland was gonna send, and indeed did send, a delegation to Paris, as did NRK, the Norwegian broadcaster. So maybe we could see Norway return, Iceland debut, and Martin Osterdahl also said in a press conference that they were at quote-unquote high-level talks to bring the UK back to Junior Eurovision, but I don't think they're going to. But I'd rather Scotland debut, or at least bring back Wales, but who knows. In any case, Martin also spoke very openly of expanding the contest past 20 countries, so we could be in for a very good show next year. And let's face it, it's probably going to be in Yerevan because unfortunately Armenia does not have a lot of big cities, and well, Yerevan is the biggest one by far, so it's probably going to be in Yerevan. And now people have raised the questions of what's going to be the interval acts, who's going to be the host, and some have brought up Iveta Makuchian from I think it was Eurovision 2018 when she got I think 7th place for Armenia with the song Love Wave. And some have raised her as a potential host of the contest next year, but who knows? And Milena, of course, Milena herself could potentially be a host as well, and or an interval act. Though I'm also wondering whether she would sing "Why" or "Kami Kami," but or maybe both. Who knows? In any case, next year, I guess we'll see you in Yerevan, and it's gonna be a great show. In any case, thank you for watching. Junior Eurovision 2021 was incredible to follow through. I'll continue to follow a lot of these artists through their later adventures in life. It was just a great experience to watch and to experience. Pardon my wording, but anyways, hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.